Hey everybody, it's Party Elite. Welcome you back to another episode of our Planet Zoo franchise mode Let's Play, where we're gonna gallop and go right back into Elite Zoo South. Wow, that one was really bad. Folks, I'm sure the thumbnail has given it away, if not the title, or that horrible opening pun that I'm so disgustingly proud of. But today we're going to be capping off the South America section of the zoo. I'm still not over the terribleness of that pun. And by terribleness, I mean, you know, the worse a pun is, the better it is. I love that. I love that inverse correlation. Anyway, today we're gonna go ahead and dive right back into the South America section of our zoo to cap things off. As I was saying, I mentioned last session I have a plan. I have an idea for our final animal of the South America section, and I do really want to execute that before we invest in going back and forth between Australia and Africa. Now, based on your reactions to my suggestion, I suppose, of including the Komodo dragons, I see a lot of you are interested in that. I see a lot of you are very much down for that kind of a approach to the area, I suppose. So perhaps the Australia section gets kind of upgraded, or I wouldn't call it an upgrade, but like a side graded, I guess, and becomes or rather an Oceania section instead. So it's Australia, and that allows us to include the Komodo dragons. Though I did see one of the comments did mention that apparently Komodo dragons used to be native to Australia. I have to like look into that and verify that. But I mean that is an option to make this more of an Oceania section. Broadens the scope a little bit, but most of the animals would still be the Australia animals. I think that's pretty much almost all there is from that region. I'll have to do a bit more checking out. But point being, that does add another animal we can implement in this area. However, that is something I'd like to get to after just capping off this, because I've got an idea. I don't know if it'll work, and I'm really eager to experiment with it. So I think that's what I want to focus on today. The session after that, I think I'm going to I think the session after that, which will be this Saturday, we'll do a bit more work in the entrance, on the entrance, and then for Monday, trying to get my dates right. Sorry, Saturday, and then Tuesday, because I would be recording it on Monday, it would release on Tuesday. Yes, okay. So Saturday we'll come back to the entrance a little bit, and I call it the entrance, but really it's the entrance, the station, and Croc Rock. It's three different things, right? We'll come back to that, and then for the session after that, which will release on Tuesday, again midnight Eastern time at least, we will take a look at the lion enclosure again. I've seen a lot of comments about how this is being kind of neglected, etc., etc. That's not the intent, obviously, but there's 100 different things. If I do one thing, I'm neglecting something else. If I do something else, I'm neglecting one thing, right? So it's that balancing act, and I feel like it's been at least a little bit of time since we've been in the South America area. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll, that entrance, Africa, Australia, Africa, Australia, Africa, Australia, back and forth, and get our safari implemented and all that. I think that'll be a nice balance. Okay, plans aside, I know I ramble about my plans a lot, but I feel like it's the only way to let everybody know that, hey, don't worry, I know what folks are interested in, and I'm definitely taking notes in terms of what people want to see, and I just want to let people know what the plan is in terms of implementing it, because that way there's a bit of an idea as to the intent, or the how long we have to wait, because again, I've seen a lot of comments about the lions being quote unquote neglected, and obviously that's not the intent. But we'll get to them very, very soon. With that said, I believe there is a little bit of management stuff I want to do before we dive in. So we're going to go ahead and do a touch of management stuff, take a look at the animals' profiles in Zoopedia, hop into our time lapse, and then get the animals in. It's a good thing that we're not going to have to worry about the trade center stuff, because, well, I say that's not entirely accurate. That's not entirely accurate. We do have a bunch of Galapagos tortoises. Manuel is our A star, so we'll probably bring him in here. This is 22 years. that arrow is pointing over there, but it's nowhere near being that old, so to speak, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, we'll get Manuel in, and unfortunately, they're all related, so I can't get anybody else in if we get Manuel in, unless I, put them, what's the word I'm looking for? Put them on contraceptives and stuff. Instead, we'll just go ahead and trade in a high-quality female Galapagos tortoise as well, and I think that'll do a good job in ensuring a long-lasting line of high-quality tortoises, even though, I mean, like, they're not... Our male Galapagos giant tortoise, if I recall correctly, still hasn't died at Litsu North. I can't remember right now, but they live long lives. But again, I digress. I'm letting myself get distracted. The first order of business today is actually... I know, we're back here. Touching on this stuff again. The main circuit. I got a great suggestion, which I'm going to try and implement, and hopefully it'll fix the problem. It should fix it, but, you know what they say about the word should, right? Let's go ahead and shut you down. And over here, yes. I was like, I'm going to click on the right tab. Going to speed you up to, let's say, 15. Kind of split the difference. We can always adjust the speed later as well. And let's go ahead and drop a couple of cars. Go with 10 cars, right? Because what that should do is that should space things out a bit more. I mean, in fact, I might even go right down to 8 cars. To a piece, one going in the middle at any given time. Nah, okay, fine. Let's do 10 cars. It's just because of the quantity of people. It's been suggested that the slow speed might be why people aren't taking the ride anymore. And that makes sense. It's not, I don't think it's outwardly communicated, so to speak, but it does make sense that if it's faster to walk somewhere, why would you get on the ride? And that might have been the situation. I mean, maybe just barely. It's hard to imagine it's quicker to walk down here than it is to take the ride over. But we'll find out, I guess. So we're speeding it up, reducing the number of cars. That should help a lot. We're also going to go ahead and take a look at some of these settings over here, which, I mean, guaranteed are a mess right now. God. Don't block station. Minimum loads. I could say any load. And minimum departure interval, I could step up a little bit. But isn't minimum departure interval and minimum wait time the same thing? Would be my question. I'm going to try with minimum wait load for now. Let's see if that kind of does the trick. I don't know. We'll see. Worst case scenario, it might need one last kind of touch up. But this, hopefully we'll see a marked improvement with this. Why is this on this side? It's off. Hopefully we'll see a significant enough improvement with these changes, and then we can at least know that we're on the right track. Pun, of course, entirely intended. Let's keep this one as is, because this one should be significantly more popular, at least based on what we saw previously. That's all that done. Yes, that's all that done. I will be updating, by the way, the entrance sign. I've received some good suggestions for what to replace it with, so I will be doing that as well when we do our next pass. I just want to make note that I have seen those comments. And actually, on that note, folks, if you are enjoying the series and you would like to see it continue, you know what to do. Let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. As always, it makes a massive difference in how I approach content on the channel, what I do more or less of, how I go about doing it. Y'all know the drill by now, I imagine. But it does make a difference. It does let me know what folks are interested in, for sure. I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of these adjustments over here as well. Yeah, these need to be, let's go ahead and say every 3 months. I think that's worked out well on the other side of the zoo. If we go ahead and make these all every 3 months, that should help a fair bit. Guests are happy right now, which is good to see, but we'll see if that lasts, because I think when we were loading in, guests were medium happiness. Yeah, see, these guys have been fine with every 3 months. I don't think I've ever seen them get broken down. I do still need to beautify the area as well, I think, because it does... The more pretty a space is, if you will, the more likely guests are to interact with it or buy from it or what have you. So that is something that I need to take into consideration as well. All right, so that's that taken care of. The schedules are taken care of down over here. That's good. Hopefully the tracks will move nicely. Let's go ahead and unpause. Let time move forward. See if this problem is fixed, but as that's happening in the background, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the animal on Zoopedia, because I can't recall now, but I feel like we didn't even talk about them at Elite Zoo North. Like, I didn't do the Zoopedia thing at Elite Zoo North as much as I would have liked to. But whether we did or didn't, this is a different season, so they still deserve that kind of attention, I would say. I've been enjoying that kind of read, and it seems that many of you have as well. So let's go ahead and unpause, take a quick look, and see if there are any major alerts that pop up right away. I mean, these guys, I don't understand why they're getting the short end of the stick. Social space is running out. How? Why? What's the deal there? Got so much room. Is it because there's too many of you and not enough room for how many of you there is? That might be the case. They're able to... No, they're not able to climb up here anymore. Okay. Go ahead and move you. Move you back. How about now? There we go. Just a little glitch. Perfect. They just need a little bit more room, because that climbing gives them access to this. Like, so much more space is made available, for lack of a better word. And now all the animals are happy. Excellent. Go ahead and say hello to a couple of folks here. Get those conservation credits, because let's be real, I don't have as many as I used to. Night will fall, the sun will rise, and then we will be hopefully appropriately timed to dive into the time lapse. Did I not open this? I did not. There we go. That, that might help in seeing if this solution works. All right. Come on, guests, don't be like that. Where is there trash on the floor? I suspect that's the problem. Oh my god. This vandalism. There we go. Boom. There it is. That should do the trick. I suspect. Fine, over here. I think it'll take some time, because they're currently impacted by that negative experience. It'll take some time, but then we'll be fine afterwards. Ooh, is this also a problem? Oh, that's just full, but it looks like it's being taken care of right now. Yep, okay, excellent. Cool, okay. So, over to Zoopedia. And over to the Galapagos giant tortoise. I saw many of you asking or saying, it's like, you've done all the South American animals, which one are you looking at? This one, because if we take a look at the natural habitat, it's right around the right spot. If I recall correctly, the equator might actually cross right through the islands over here. And yes, it didn't come with the DLC, sure, but it is still a South American animal, and it is still in the southern hemisphere, or again, potentially in both hemispheres. But yeah, there you have it. That's the final South American animal. Definitely coming in from, coming out of left field maybe a little bit, but it is what it is. Super pumped for my idea, because well, I'll touch on that during the time lapse, I suspect. All right, the Galapagos giant tortoise. Chelonoidis nigra, I imagine. Vulnerable. Yeah, I mean, here's the fun fact, which I've shared before, I know, but I learned this off of this show called QI, which at least used to be amazing. I used to watch it back in the day. Stephen Fry used to host it. It's a British panel show, which is potentially one of my favorite genres of TV shows. I'm not gonna lie. That isn't drama or that isn't narrative. But apparently, it took the longest time for the Galapagos giant tortoise to receive a scientific name. And again, I need to verify this, so take it with a grain of salt. Oh dear, that's awfully morbid now that I think about the fact I'm about to say. But apparently, it took a very long time for the giant tortoise to get its scientific name, because every time people were supposed to transport it back to Europe, where the scientific community was super prevalent, and they would be the ones to analyze and all that stuff, and give the names and things like that. So every time they were trying to bring these animals back, they would never make it, because they would eat the giant tortoise, because apparently they're delicious. So that was apparently a problem with getting a scientific name for the Galapagos giant tortoise, because they kept getting eaten on the trip back until eventually, I guess, they made it, and now we know a bit more about them. Well, I say now, this was of course a long time ago, but it's still I don't know. I find it absolutely priceless and hilarious, a story. I do want to triple verify it. I've looked it up in the past, and there's reason to believe that it is 100%. A thing that happened, but I'm always nervous about sharing things with 100% certainty, because everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt. And if you ask the sailors that were bringing the Galapagos giant tortoises back, the Galapagos giant tortoise itself should be taken with a grain of salt. All right, the giant Galapagos tortoise, or Chelonoidis nigra, is a species of reptile endemic to the Galapagos Islands and does not appear anywhere else in the world. They come in two types, saddleback-shelled and dome-shelled. and both variants have a dull gray-brown shell and scaly gray-colored skin. Saddleback shell tortoises have long necks and live in dry lowland areas, while dome shell tortoises have short necks and live in humid highland areas. Both can grow to extremely large sizes, with the average male weighing between 272 and 317 kilograms, and the average female weighing between 136 and 181. Huh. That's a significant difference between 181 and 317 on the high extremes there. In the past, overexploitation caused the number of giant Galapagos tortoises to suffer a very sharp decline. They were hunted for their meat and oil, while their habitats were destroyed to create farmland. Seafarers would also often stock their boats with... Oh, there it is! Oh, okay, you know what? I must have not read this the last time, because it's literally in here. Seafarers would also often stock their boats with giant tortoises as a food supply due to their large size providing plenty of meat, as well as the fact that they require very low maintenance. And, again, apparently they're tasty. However, captive breeding and releasing back into the wild has brought the species back from the brink of extinction. Despite still being vulnerable, they are now also protected by conservation efforts. A current problem they face is their habitat being destroyed by non-native feral goats. But efforts are being made to remove these goats from the islands. Wow. That's that invasive species right there. Invasive species. Something... oh, what's happening over here? Why is our keeper not coming over here? Okay, you've just brought the food. I might need some more keepers or something. I know I need more keeper huts and more, oh, what's the word? Like staff rooms and stuff like that. So that's definitely on the docket as well. It'll be a part of our expansion today. It looks like the crowds are lining up. Looks like the speed actually has made a pretty big difference. Let me just see what happens over here. Let's see if this minimum wait time is doing the trick, because again, we might need to adjust some other things, right? We might need to increase the minimum wait time. Alright, well, let's really quickly here. 15 seconds. I mean, hopefully that's enough. Hopefully that's enough. Gonna be super quick about this because I don't want to... Like, if we can get this sorted at the same time as getting the reading our entry about the Galapagos giant tortoise, I'll be quite happy. I'll be very happy. So 15 and 30, sure. Let's try it. Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen? Right? Low welfare over here. What's the deal here? Why are you upset? Stress. Okay, we might want to look at more like ambient speakers and stuff for them. All right, back to Zoopedia. The reason why I'm not like jumping on that right now is because the stress and everything was already getting fixed. Okay, yeah, interesting. So invasive species. Again, Australia is very good about preventing invasive anything. Like if you try to go to Australia, the customs process is very very tight, because it's got such an isolated ecosystem. You have to be very careful with that kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm talking about Australia. We're looking at a South American animal, but just drawing the parallel there. I just think it's interesting that that it should come up, because it is a serious problem with things like this. Though invasive species have been used in the past as well for a positive impact. I believe, was it Yellowstone National Park, where they introduced a couple of, I think it was wolves, which restored the entire national park's ecosystem. I think that's what it was, wolves at the Yellowstone National Park. I'll have to look it up, but there's some interesting stuff out there with invasive species and how they can and cannot be used. All right, South America, Galapagos Islands, tropical. We're familiar with some of this stuff. They don't really need the most strict of boundaries. Species data, social needs. Well, let's look at this stuff first. So group size is 1 to 4 adults, but they can have a lot of babies, as we've learned previously. Dominance is largest males. Polygynous mating system. They are neutral relation with humans. That is a lie. Guests can enter the habitat, but honestly, they are so easily like they're so skittish. They get very stressed out very easily, as we learned at Elite Zoo North. So we're gonna try and fix that over here. Size, 4 feet long. Life expectancy 100 years. Weight is 650 or 350 pounds. Maturity at 22 years. Sterility at death. Number of offspring per mating event 2 to 7. Yeah, it can be quite good. And baby tortoise. These guys have a lot of high appeal. They were big money makers for us at Elite Zoo North. So this will be good. Looks like Metzli is pregnant as well. Oh right, about to have babies. Good stuff. More money coming through. Gestation period is 8 months, interbirth is 24 months, and reproduction is very easy, as we've learned. We're going to have to keep an eye out to make sure they don't over-reproduce. Giant Galapagos tortoises are solitary but do tolerate each other. Saddleback males are particularly aggressive towards each other during the mating season. Reproduction. During the mating season, males and females will gather in the humid highlands of the islands, the former tracking the latter by their scent, warding off any rival males by biting, or with mating displays in which they extend their neck and stand as tall as they can. When a male does encounter a female, he will ram her with his shell, chase her, and bite her legs. In return, she will either run away or allow him to mate with her, which she does by laying low on the ground and withdrawing her legs. The male may continue to ram her with his shell to get her into the right position, and will then mount her. Thereafter, the female will begin a repetitive nest-building behavior that involves digging a 12-inch deep hole with her back legs. She repeats this until she is happy and lays a clutch of 4 to 16 eggs inside. A female will lay between 1 and 4 clutches per breeding season, covering the nests over with a muddy plug made of soil and urine, before leaving the eggs to incubate in the sun. After 4 to 8 months, the eggs will hatch, and the hatchlings will spend several days or weeks digging their way out before living completely independently. Galapagos giant tortoises reach sexual maturity between 20 and 25 years old. Yeah, I'm actually fairly familiar with the egg, the nesting behaviors and stuff, so that's pretty interesting. They have a very interesting system, I guess, or like early life, I suppose is what I'm getting at. Research status. Now, we've done all the research for them already thanks to Elite Zoo North, so that is fantastic. Giant Galapagos tortoises are found on many different islands in the Galapagos chain. It is believed that they travel to various islands by passively floating there. Their shells are buoyant, and their long necks allow tortoises to breathe air as they float. Can you imagine just being whisked away to a different island? The tortoise's shell is made up of conjoined protective keratin plates that are fused with the ribs. There are multiple subspecies of giant Galapagos tortoises across the islands. The size and appearance of the tortoises is often different depending on which island they are from. Oh, that's interesting. Galapagos tortoises have a mutualistic relationship with finches and mockingbirds on the island, allowing these birds to remove parasites from their legs, where their legs meet their shell. Sorry, interesting. And the Galapagos Islands were named after the saddle-like appearance of tortoises by the Spanish sailors who discovered the islands in 1535, or so the story goes. Whilst Galapago is an old Spanish word for saddle, it has an even older meaning, which is literally tortoise. Oh, didn't know that. Okay, interesting. Nothing interspecies. World records are, of course, not a real world thing. Let's take a quick gander over here. This looks like it had to be repaired. That's unfortunate timing, to say the very least. Okay. Well, the lineups are big again, so I think the speed did have a lot to do with how many people were lining up. This is maybe still a problem. Low welfare over here. Oh, we've got some babies. Let's take a look here. Wow, these stats. Oh my lord. And how about you over here? Amazing. Ridiculously amazing. Not enough space. Hold on a second. What's going on here? No, you have enough space. That's interesting. That's not right. Hold on. There we go. That's so weird that the climbing gets decalculated, if you will. I can't think of a better word. Even though the animal is still able to use it, it's just not being included in the calculations. Alright, well, it is what it is. We've solved that problem. Those are both, where'd they go? Those are both very high stat babies. They could net us quite a bit on the trading circuit, as it were. On the topic of circuits. Alright, cool. I'm glad I zoomed in just in time to see people get on. That seems like it's working well. Over here, where are we? There's a huge lineup, but pretty consistent arrival. I mean, I could add maybe one more car or something. I've got a lot of great name suggestions, by the way. I will implement them when this is all up and running properly, just in case I have to replace this with a different kind of ride. You head out. That's as full as you could get anyway. Yeah, we could maybe add one more car to this to reduce this wait time. I think a train would have been the right call, to be perfectly honest. I think a train would have been the right call. Anyway, folks, the sun is directly overhead. You couldn't ask for a better time of day to do a time lapse. We've just finished looking at the Zoopedia article as well. It looks like this thing is running okay. Again, like I said, I can maybe add another car or two to it to just pick up the pace a little bit. Split the difference between what we had and what we have right now. But we'll experiment with that later. Maybe after the time lapse, if there is time after the animals in place and everything. How do I feel about things right now? I think things are pretty good. Everyone is super happy. That's excellent. We're a 5-star zoo, so that's excellent. Would very much like to see some of these get accomplished. Habitat species, the education up at 2% is all we're able to squeeze here. And we could release 3 Colombian white-faced capuchin monkeys to the wild. I mean, we could accomplish that. $1,000, it's just not worth. That's what's weird. Like I've said this before in season 1. I'll say it now in season 2. Those rewards need to scale with financial situations and the zoo and all that. Anyway, let's go ahead and make our way over to here, where we're going to see some massive changes take place as we introduce our final South American animal. Folks, it's time-lapse time. All right, folks, time-lapse time indeed. I am really quite pleased with the end results of this time-lapse. It was, well, okay, so it kind of morphs over the course of the time-lapse itself in terms of the idea behind it. But initially, my plan and hope was to finally build an interior space. And I don't know what it is, but I think I struggle with creating an enclosed interior space, especially for an animal whose environmental needs are met by the environment we're in. And so initially, the idea okay, it's actually a funny roller coaster ride here. So initially the idea was to do an enclosed space and make it an interior enclosure. But then over the course of building it, as you will see, I end up wanting to make it an exterior enclosure. I don't want to make it inside a building. But then at the end, something happens, and you'll see what. Something happens, and I go, maybe it should be an interior enclosure after all. My big issue with making like a building kind of a thing is because I just feel like animals, it's nice to have access to fresh air, like not ventilated air, but like fresh outdoor air. There is a difference. I feel like it's nice to be exposed to direct sunlight, not having to, not having the whole greenhouse effect happen with a bunch of glass windows and stuff like that. So I try to be cognizant of that. I think that overtakes my mindset subconsciously or consciously as well at times. So yeah, this was supposed to be just so you know, this was supposed to be a little mini building tucked away into the side of this cave, if you will, and then eventually just ends up becoming a little cave opening instead. But anyway, I mean, that aside, no matter which way we end up ultimately, because we will come back here in probably like a beauty pass kind of an approach to cap it off. Because again, as always, I want to get the animal in. We have it about, I would say, 80% done today, 80 to 90% done. I get the animal in as well, and then after that, I want to make some adjustments, right? Where was I? What was I getting at? Either way, whichever way we go, whether it ends up being an indoor enclosure or an open space, open air enclosure, I like it for many reasons. One of them being it's a very strange shape for an enclosure. And I find it hilarious. It's like the Galapagos giant tortoises are my experiment animal or something. At Elite Zoo North, we experimented with the overpass. Over here, we're experimenting with this like extremely long and thin and curved design approach, which is pretty different from anything else we've done. So they're like my little experiment animal, I suppose. But yeah, apart from, so on the left side, we have where the animal is actually going to be over here. And on the right side, we've got where I'm going to build a bit of a kind of hangout spot, like a chill spot. I thought it'd be really cool to have this space where you can check out the tortoises and then walk over, sit down, grab a bite, have a drink, and then continue your loop around the zoo. And on the topic of loop, in my sort of mind's eye, this exhibit space kind of has this curve going upwards, as you can see from up over here. I want it to curve up and then enter into the Africa section from a different angle. Obviously, we're not just going to have one section, or we're not just going to have one entrance per section. So this is going to be a second entry point into the Africa section. And my plan is to have some, jungle dwelling or forest dwelling animals from Africa be the first animals you see when you enter this way. And that way it kind of like blends from one densely forested area to another. And I think that'll look quite nice. So there's a lot of things about this enclosure that I really quite like in terms of not just the enclosure itself, but also as an experiential perspective. Introducing that transition, walking kind of eye to eye with the animal is the hope. And then on the flip side as well, having a meal while looking onto the animals as well. I just feel like it's a really cool space overall, the enclosure and the space, across the path from the enclosure as well. I'm quite pleased with it. Now you can see I'm putting down a bunch of plants over here to act as barriers. Ultimately, I'm going to have to get rid of them, as I discover at the end of this session, not the end of this time lapse, but the session as a whole. And that's where the decision kind of comes to, like, maybe it does need to be an indoor enclosure as opposed to a open air or outdoor enclosure, whatever you want to call it. But that's besides the point right now. We'll touch more on that later. Over here, you can see I am putting down some more staff facilities. I put down a small keeper hut. I figured we don't need a large one over here. We have another one just up the road. So a small keeper hut and a large staff room, because I feel like you could never have too many staff rooms, especially now with vending machines needing so many mechanics as well. I almost feel like it's like you need 2 mechanics per vending machine as opposed to 1, or you need 3 mechanics per vending machine as opposed to 2 vendors per stall. But again, besides the point. I'm very glad to have these down, and over here in this corner as well, we're able to put down the water treatment facility and another transformer as well. They're tucked away. They're not going to bother our guests. They're nicely hidden. We'll make a nicer entry for them, so that they're, again, still nicely tucked away. But I'm quite pleased with how that works. Now over here, I decide, as I often do, to implement a natural source of drinking water. The filtration system will keep the water clean, and it creates sort of that, it creates a more interesting experience, I think, for the animals and for the onlookers as well, to see them drink from an actual water source. A little bit of terrain painting, which I do have to redo a fair bit of, unfortunately, afterwards, because I'm a little off the requirements of the animal itself, but that's not a big deal. At least visually, we have it in a good space before we bring the animal in. And also using some vegetation over here as well. I wanted to make sure that this space feels alive. It is a bit of a challenge because, of course, we have the roof over top of it. So trying to put trees down that don't clip through the quote-unquote roof, the rock or mud roof or whatever you want to call it, but still take up some space. It's a bit of a challenge with the types of trees we have available. Now over here, you can see I extend this little hidey hole over here. I'm hoping that the tortoises will climb up top and sleep up there, and I've put down 2 spaces for them to eat. In case they find themselves out of position and too slow to move to one, they can hopefully get to the other. A little bit of experimentation will go a long way there. Now up over here, you can see putting down some picnic tables and putting down some regular benches as well. Again, I really want this space to feel... What's the word I'm looking for? I'm just having such a hard time. Like, it's... to me, this is potentially the most chill spot in the zoo so far. Like Camp Capuchin, while it has, vendors and stuff like that, it's still a space where you are largely standing and walking around and looking at exhibits, and that's kind of how you're having your interactions there. This is more like you come through, you look at the animal, you go, oh, well, that was fun. You go up to these vendors over here, you pick up a meal, you pick up a drink, you sit down at the picnic tables. The kids are running around. They're still like staring at the tortoises. The tortoises are moving around as well on their elevated platform. You can see them from where you're eating, or you can see them from that closer, lower standing path, I guess. So it feels a lot more, to me at least, it feels a lot more relaxed, a lot more casual, I guess. Take a minute, have a break, have a Kit Kat. You just came through an enclosure with some big cats, but there's something about that I feel like I don't often do, I guess. Even at Elite Zoo North, Om Nom Nom was one of my favorite spots, I'm not gonna lie, and even that was still a very active, you stand, you walk, minimal sitting, minimal chilling, and so I wanted to challenge myself in creating this kind of a chill space over here. And again, the idea initially was to make it a building and make it, you know, a full-on enclosed structure. But then I just kind of got enamored with this idea of like, ooh, well, what if it's like caves and, you know, like you sit down and it's very dimly lit, mood lighting, maybe even have like a waterfall kind of a thing going on off to the side, or it's like the subtle dripping of water somewhere, so it feels like, you know, you get that like that echo, that reverberation and the echo, that kind of a feel. Like I've got like, that's where my head is at with this space, and personally I'm quite pleased with how it all kind of comes together today. Man, this goes so much faster in a time lapse. This took so long to actually do. It's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, again, as things often are around these parts, these things aren't 100% accomplished just quite yet. I did want to get the animal in. I did want to see what the guests thought, where they stood, what they saw, what the animal sees, and I'm glad I took that moment, that pause, because there are some adjustments that are necessary, and I think we'll do them. I don't know if we'll do them next session. I mean, y'all let me know in the comments. My plan for the next session, I mentioned it before, and I'll mention it after as well, is to deal with the entrance. But maybe rather than that, we cap this off, or it's hard to pick. There's so much to do always. It's hard to pick and choose. Maybe it would be a good idea to finish this area off and leave the entrance for a little bit longer, because we have spent a lot of time up there. Could use a little bit of love and action back over here, I think. But again, y'all let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed this time lapse. Personally, I'm very happy with the overall technical aspect of it, the overall sort of aesthetic of it. The idea behind it is all coming together very nicely for me. But yeah, it does need a little bit more work, but I'm sure we're going to get there with a pretty solid result. I'm looking forward to building this experience out, especially this entry, making a beautiful kind of transition with a glorious entrance to the space. But folks, that's it for this time lapse. I do hope you enjoyed it. As always, let me know down below what you think. All right, folks, we are back from that time lapse, and pretty pleased overall with our progress there. As all things go, it is obviously still a work in progress, but the skeleton is here, the base is here, the foundation is here, the overall idea is here, though it did, I suppose, transform during the course of that time lapse, and I'm sure I touched on that because it was a core part of the conversation, I imagine, I hope, but if not, then I'll talk about it next time. But yeah, I'm overall quite pleased with our progress over here. We've got our nice little corner over here where you can grab a drink, grab a bite, grab, you know, umbrellas or what have you. Just a whole kind of station over here acting as a food court slash resting spot. Got a couple of these picnic benches as well. It was pointed out that I don't really put picnic benches down, and that can be quite problematic actually, because it's a whole different type of seating that people do seek out, so I probably should put a few more of them down, in fact, as well. I decided to go ahead and embrace the gaudy South America DLC pack stuff. Again, when I say gaudy, I don't mean that in a negative way per se, but it is certainly a specific aesthetic. But I decided, you know what, for the final piece, for the cap, if you will, of the South America area, why not go over the top? I've got this mosaic on the ground. I don't think this was a South America specific path type, but I feel like it matches in its opulence, let's put it that way. I've got this nice little kind of garden space is kind of what I'm thinking. The idea is that all these little mounds over here represent little islands, if you will. We've got one all the way back over here as well, little islands, yeah, as a reference to the Galapagos Islands, obviously, but trying to restrict the amount of space that the tortoises have to move in, because we don't want them to suffer too much in terms of trying to get from point A to point B. They should be able to get up to their food enrichment, food over here, toys over here, and over... oh, I thought I put one down closer to the entrance as well. Maybe I deleted that by mistake. Pop you back down over here, buddy. There we go. So a couple toys. We've got food enrichment. We've got food up over here as well, and resting spaces up over here too. So hopefully it's all densely packed enough that they're able to pick stuff up pretty easily. And we've got a second food tray over here as well, just in case they're a little, you know, caught out of position, so to speak. But yeah, I feel like it'd be a pretty interesting viewing experience. You know, you're kind of down over here looking... You're sort of at eye level with the animal for the most part. At times it might be over top of you. So I feel like it's an interesting angle at the very least. And it does need a little bit more, of course, decorative work as well. I want to create a proper barrier and things like that. And I mean, okay, I'll touch on it now. Maybe I spoke about it during the time lapse as well, but just to touch on it now, I was actually initially planning on making this an enclosed space. And it's been brought up fairly often that, like, I don't build interior enclosures. all that often, or at all potentially. And I was going to do that over here. I was going to make this into a a closed off space, have lighting and stuff and all that kind of stuff. I had a whole plan like that. But as I was building it and as I was looking at it, I just kind of felt bad for the animals. I just kind of felt like they need natural light. Why put them in a greenhouse? Like have just windows when you could just have an open top. I don't know. It's something maybe I have to get over. Maybe it's a personal preference thing, but I feel like, the fresh air of being in the open is nice. I felt kind of weird, shutting it off or closing it down. So the idea did, transform over the course of that time lapse, but I think at least for the better. You might have seen me play around with maybe some roofing ideas and things like that. Temporarily, I was like looking at some pieces, and I'm not quite sold on making it an enclosed space yet, but maybe I will ultimately stick with that initial plan. Though I am quite pleased with how it looks right now. I'm actually gonna get rid of some of these. There's a little bit too much repetition going on back there. I'm gonna get rid of some of these and get some of these in here instead. They're a nice kind of generic bush-looking thing, and I think that does a good job of making it look alive without the tiling continuing that far back. But yeah, I'm gonna retouch the flower beds up front as well, and this actual raised area. Wasn't exactly sure how I wanted to do it now that it's no longer a constructed space, now that it's no longer a quote-unquote building. So we'll toy around with that a little bit as well. But overall, pleased with the direction. And the idea is that from over here, well, let me go ahead and do something I haven't done in a long time. Let's go ahead and use our soil marker over here. My plan is, and let me see if I can find an example. Maybe the bonobo, maybe the western lowland gorilla. One of these. I think either the bonobo or the gorilla will likely go over roughly over here-ish. If that would be a little bit darker, that'd be super helpful. You can kind of tell. How about the rock? There we go. That's a lot more clear. So sort of like over here, and that way you have this like very heavily forested, jungled area, so to speak. And as you go through, you kind of you transition into the Africa area, and now you're able to travel towards the center of the Africa area. That's kind of what I'm thinking over here. It was sort of a suggestion that came through in the comments as well, and I'm very much on board with it. It was along the lines of what I was planning as well, so totally on board with that. And I feel like that would transition us from the heavily forested area to the more kind of grasslands and plains areas quite nicely, I think. Heavily wooded, kind of plains in the middle, and then maybe heavily wooded on the sides over here as well, on the far side of this area. I'm going to undo that because that's very patchy looking and it bothers me. In fact, this is very patchy looking as well. It bothers me too. I'm going to just get rid of that. But just wanted to communicate what my plan was over here. So there's a bit of an idea as to what's going on. Oh, it's still patchy looking, but I guess I prefer a green patch to a dirt patch. There we go. Cool, sure. Spread it out a little bit, make it fade a little bit. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking in terms of the transition into the Africa space. I might also potentially, maybe, put another ride over here. Whether it's a safari that goes through the Africa section, or it's like a train that takes you to the outermost points of all of our destinations. I'm not sure yet, but I might put a ride down at the end there as well. But yeah, over here, in terms of naming suggestions that I'm looking for, apart from the Galapagos tortoise enclosure itself, we have a Mexcellente, a Looney Balloons, Information Center, Just a Memento, and a Pipshot Water. My hope is we'll see a fair bit of traction over here. I might add a little bit more to drink over here, and a little bit more to eat over here as well, just to add a couple more stalls, or I might put down some vending machines instead. Either or. I'm not 100% sure yet which way I'll lean, but one or the other. Let's go ahead and take a look at our work zones as well. I want to edit South America right off the bat before I forget, as I am prone to doing. Go ahead and pick all of you, and yet again, we see ourselves with some of these things deselected. I just don't understand it. I still don't understand it. Cool, there we go. And this thing is what? Why? Why do you do this game? At least this thing's still selected. Okay, this is weird. I must be missing something. Anyway, with that done, I believe we can go ahead and ship the animal in. I would also like to actually, to be crystal clear, I would like to cover this up a little bit more as well. Make this transition a little bit more hidden, I suppose. I like having this, like, again, this densely forested area over here. Just looks pretty neat, and then you have this like reveal, I suppose. And even from inside, I like the. We'll probably decorate this area a fair bit more. Do it during a beauty pass, perhaps. But I like this kind of reveal over here as you come down. You've got this like blue sky. You know, you see the tortoises over here. If you're hungry or whatever, you go up over there. I'm really quite pleased with the overall experience there, which is always kind of key to me. Always key. Education speakers overlapping. That's just because of a group went through it. That's a new issue / bug or whatever you want to call it. I do need to actually, that reminds me, get some education boards and stuff down over here. We'll do that as the animal comes in, so I can assign the topic and then just duplicate them, as opposed to put a bunch down and then have to go through assigning the topic. All right, there we go. Good stuff. I might decorate this a little bit as well. Want to get some more vines and stuff down as well. Just the change of plans has changed the vision a little bit, which made things take longer than initially anticipated. But again, that's the story of my life, isn't it? That is the story of my life. Let's go ahead and get our star tortoise in here. He's going to be a big deal. Not just a big deal. He's going to be a giant deal. Manuel over here with your magnificent stats. Yeah, these are like amazing stats. Great appeal as well. Let's go ahead and move you, buddy. Go ahead and move you, buddy. Come on. Game has been out for nearly a year. The clicking still isn't perfect. It's kind of funny. Pop you over here. Habitat 21. Wild to think about. And we also do need to try and seek out a female. Like I said, we want a high-quality female Galapagos giant tortoise. Try and breed brilliant babies. Galapagos, where are you at? There we go. Galapagos giant tortoise. And female only. Maria is the only option, for real. I want Buddy to be lonely, but not. Oh my god, that's terrible, actually. That is terrible. That is really bad. Alright, well, we'll hold off then. We'll go solo for now, and then we'll get a female in. I need a better. I don't want to sully the genes, as it were, so to speak. And the rest are all brothers, or the rest are all sisters, I should say. So we're not able to pull any of them in, because of course that'll cause inbreeding, which we don't want either. And they're not the best stats. I mean, they're okay. I guess Mercedes over here is all right. But again, we can't do that. It is inbreeding. Just to confirm for anybody who's uncertain. All right, so let's go ahead and get at least that one tortoise in. Oh, and by the way, yes, in case you missed it, we do have a staff room and a new keeper hut down over here as well. So hopefully that'll provide another spot for relaxation for any of our keepers who are closer to this area. I wonder if I should extend that path as well and connect it over here just to make it easier to get to, because right now they kind of have to go a long way if they want to get there. We could try that. Let's go ahead and see what we can do here. Pretty tight space. Have to go all the way around this way. Go around the bend of this enclosure. Keep moving forward like this. Just trying to find that space. I think we're close. Terrain modification failed over here, because we've overshot, I think. A little bit. Problem is, this thing doesn't want to let me put stuff down unless it's over here. I don't really want to eat away at this fancy space that we've made. There's another thing I don't understand. It's like, why? Let's see if I can't flatten this, maybe. I don't want to spend too much time on this. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Size there. But now. I don't think it's about the terrain. I think it's about the barrier. Which, I mean, to be fair, fine. We can reduce this if need be. Can move you in a little bit like that. Go ahead and move. Whoops. You in a little bit like that, I suppose. That should do the trick. Come on now. Maybe. Yep, looks like a spot here now. Oh, come on. There we go. That is an option, and we'll just need to fancy this space up a little bit. Make it feel intentional. Like it was the plan all along. Because it absolutely was. Go nudge some of you in a little bit. Nudge you a little bit as well. Beautiful. Pop you down over here. Excellent. And let's get these guys over as well. We'll fancy it up a bit more afterwards, but I think that just gives an easier access from the far away point to over here, rather than having to, if you're all the way over here already, you have to come down and then go over. I mean, that might actually be faster. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe that was a complete waste, but we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and unpause, get the animal in here, and see how the guests feel about this space. Try and get the education boards and stuff up as well. That'll be good. Let's go ahead and get some ATMs down as well. Up over here. Over here and up over here as well. Cool. Bins and everything. Yep, good stuff, good stuff. I don't think it'll be too long before the animal arrives. They'll have to go to the. Well, hold on a second. Yeah, no, we don't need to do. We don't need to do the whole song and dance with. I'm really tired right now as they run. Fleeing. Oh, you know what happened? When I by mistake deleted the barrier there, even though I was paused, the game was like, "Oh, you have an escaped animal." So that's unfortunate. Going to cost me some money, but it's not the end of the world. We'll be fine. Yawn running. Wait, hang on a second. What's gone wrong here? Something's gone wrong here. Even though the game's not telling me. It is counting this as an escape point. Why is that? How can you get here now? Oh, okay. Go ahead and pause this. What am I looking for? We might want to nudge you back up over here. Nudge you back up over here. I don't know if that'll solve the problem. I don't understand how that would be related even. Over a bit. Unpause you. There we go. Weird. Again, not sure what happened there, but something did. We've got it solved now, though. Well, that's the kid. Let's see if the adult is able to get through. If the kid can't get through, I doubt the adult can get through. But better safe than sorry, as they say. Where is the grown-up? Come on. Where are you, buddy? Where are you? Kind of funny that I actually can't be highlighted. Well, I'll waste any more time here. Go ahead and pick you out like... Oh, that's why I couldn't see you. You're hiding back there. Alright, fair enough. Not trying to make a break for it. Ooh, the adult... Okay, so the adults are able to get out, but the kids aren't. What? That's weird. How? What? How does that make any sense? Where is... They weren't able to drop here before. It doesn't say they can jump down. I don't think it's that. Alright, let's try. We can't undo. All the way back to here. Going, keep going. How about now? There. Let's keep it like this. We don't need that path. We don't need that path. This is an easy enough access point. It's not that far away. We do not need that path. Alright. Fair enough. Tortoise, how you doing, buddy? How you liking the space? Loving the space? Good stuff. Overall, lots of space. Terrain isn't perfect, so we can fix that. Need a little bit of sand. Alright. Go ahead and paint some of that sand in then. Got the perfect spot for it and everything. A lot more sand, actually. Okay. A lot more down. Why it's not registering any of the sand I'm putting down. Oh, there we go. A lot more sand, I guess. Go ahead and reduce your size a little bit. Put some up over here. Go, a little less rock, a little more sand is not a problem. Good stuff. More up over here, more up over here. Wow, they actually really prefer sand. I did not remember that at all. A little bit more short grass. We'll get that in there. Alright, so short grass over here maybe. There we go. There. Wow. A delicate balance. Delicate balance. Not sure if I could just reduce the intensity and get a little bit of rock in here. Get a bit more short grass. Okay. There. Alright, cool. What else have we got over here? Whoops. Come on. Come on. Let me pick the animal. Oh, don't do this game. Great. Have some maturing animals over here as well. Manuel, I would like to select you, please. Well, this is unfortunate. I don't want to move this because I want to see the barrier and stuff. But it is what it is. Fair enough. Let's go ahead and pause for a second here. I got to get the education boards and stuff down as well, right? So, not forget that. Not forget that. Go ahead and get EV. Whoops. Weird that I would rotate on that angle, but sure. EV down over here. Go. And I'll like that. How about that? I think that works. Obviously, you want to switch that to the right animal. Makes a bit of a difference. Just a little bit. There we go. And we need a speaker over here as well. I believe I've got one in here. Would have been a lot easier to just put down a new one, I think. We're okay. There we go. Pop you down over here. And do the tortoises. Check the volume. Make sure we have a decent coverage over here. Yes, we do. Excellent. I can duplicate another TV. Put it down over here, I would say. What a weird angle for it to rotate with when you press Z. Rotate on that. The wrong axis. Like, why would you want to put your TV into portrait mode? I mean, there is a reason to do that if education boards could be portrait as well as landscape, but it can't be. So why rotate along that angle? Kind of weird to me. Alright, and then a third one, I think, on the end over here, alongside another speaker. Oh, we might actually need more. Will you go to here? Right about over here, I think. Up a little bit. There we go. Done. And then the last one, I think, will have a speaker attached to it as well. Like so. Go ahead and get speaker. All the way over here. Let's just check its volume. Yep, it's pretty good, I think. I think that's pretty good. I just gotta check if the tortoise is happy. Should get some donation bins down as well, obviously. Donation bins. Trying to figure out what color to make them. I suppose like greens are okay. I don't know if that's what I associate with tortoises, though. I feel like a bit more gray-green. And over here as well, a bit more gray side. Just desaturate a little bit. Yeah, I feel like that's a bit more appropriate. Cool. 1, 2, 3. If that does the trick. If guests come through, why are you going that way? That is for staff only. Don't even look that way. Heading to Looney Balloons 3. Really, you're coming all this way to buy balloons? As are these people? Okay, sure. I mean, hey, you come here for whatever reason you want to come here for. There is a literal animal here as well. Maybe I'll get rid of the plants and and make it a glass barrier or something instead, so you have a better view of the animal. Because right now it feels like, yeah, they'd be largely covered. So I might want to actually do that. Overall, they're happy with their space, though. Too many plants. All right, we'd solve 2 problems. 2 birds with 1 stone, as they say, right? Which is not a bad idea. But I want to quickly check. Oh, there are some escape points. All right, you know what? We definitely should solve this by putting down a glass barrier then. I think that's the right call. I think that would be the right call. Okay, I mean, I don't mind that. It makes it a bit more of an interior space as well. We'll put a roof over it as well then. Fair enough. I guess the original plan will hold. But for now, oh, look at that. Like, I really quite like this. I was hoping for this, like, kind of cave kind of a look over here. Not too much lighting. Again, just enough to be, of course, you know, so people aren't tripping over themselves or anything like that. But very, very kind of dim and dimly lit. And at night as well, I want it to look quite... I mean, there's something about this, right? There's something about this that I really quite enjoy. Very natural lighting and that kind of stuff. But I guess we will need to kind of enclose this space and make sure our tortoises are not able to escape too easily. I did not expect them to be able to jump down from up there, but I guess it's a pretty short step down for them onto the rocks and then further out. Part of me was actually thinking I could let this entire space be open for them to move around, but then I feel like they'll get to a point where they won't be close enough to their food at certain points or close enough to their water at certain points, and I'm worried about that. Let me also actually check here real quickly because I just realized I forgot. Check, are they able to get to the water? They are indeed. They won't swim in it, but they're able to get to it to drink from it, so that's excellent. We should be good, and it looks like we did get something over here. The habitat species. Let's go ahead and claim that reward. Happy with that. What's the deal down over here? Yeah, I might need to add a couple more cars. Man, that's so cool. Also, this is how the sign looks at night. Though we are going to change the word. I have been given quite a few suggestions. I know exactly what I'm going to go with, but I'll do that again later on. What are we doing next time? Next time, I suppose we're hopping in to work on our, entry and ride above and croc rock. So I guess we'll change this next time. But like last time, folks, as the sign says hello, it's time for me to say goodbye. We are going to call it a session over here. I hope you enjoyed this one. I am quite pleased with the new edition. We've sort of capped off the South America area now, and I've also introduced the transition into Africa on this far side, which was another part of the conversation that I wanted to have because it's been on my mind for a while here. So I think that's pretty neat. Gives our zoo a bit of a shape over here. It's finally kind of taking form, if you will. Not its final form, but you know, getting there. We're getting there. Gonna have to make some adjustments over here. Maybe we'll do that at the same time as we do the beauty pass in the center, or maybe we stay focused. I'll figure it out. We'll get everything done, obviously. But yeah, this centerpiece is gonna take a long time to accomplish. I think it was pointed out in the comments by somebody as well. It's just like, it is a lot of different pieces. Actually, I was wrong even earlier as well. Croc Rock, all the stores, the entrance, the station over here, these like decorative elements on either flank. Like, there's a lot of parts, which is why it's taking us so long to really complete this. But I think I knew that it was going to be an undertaking, and it seems like it's an undertaking and a half. But again, we'll pace ourselves so that we're making progress, but not neglecting everything else at the same time. Again, 2 episodes from now, we should be back up over here with the lions, as some of them are maturing. We're going to give them a lot more hard cover or hard shelter and all that to work with and live with as well. But for now, folks, we are going to call it a session. I hope you enjoyed this one. I certainly did. If you did, you know what to do. Let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. As always, it makes a massive difference in how I approach content on the channel, what I do more or less of, and how I go about doing it. And of course, as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of my channel members and patrons for supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.